NetworkChuck. Let me know real quick if you can hear me. I got a new setup going on, and I don't know what's happening. Now today I got a hacker on the channel, which I think is totally appropriate because things are getting hacked all over the freaking place. I mean, I woke up this morning and Google scared the crap out of me. Anyone else get terrified about that? And then also SolarWinds. Who doesn't use SolarWinds? No one right now. But now I hope you got your coffee ready. Let's talk about the best way to learn hacking. Hacking's a discipline. Hacking takes time. Hacking is hard. That's why I have Mr. John Hammond on the channel. Now, John Hammond probably doesn't need an introduction, but you know what? He's going to come on and tell you anyway. John, you are on. Tell us about yourself, man.
Hey there. What's up? Thanks so much, NetworkChuck. I'm happy to be here.
Great. Now, real quick, everybody in the chat, let me know if everybody can hear John. And while you're letting me know, John, dude, first of all, who are you?
No better way to start, right? So, hey, hi, hello. My name is John Hammond. I'm a YouTuber, I guess. I have a cheesy YouTube channel where I like to showcase cybersecurity content, some ethical hacking, right? Penetration testing, programming tutorials, capture the flag. That's really, I think, my favorite aspect of it is showcasing capture the flag and how that's a great way to learn and practice and get better. For my day job, right, to pay the bills, I'm a security researcher over at Huntress, and we're doing a lot of really good stuff to keep the bad guys at bay.
The bad guys at bay. Well, you know what? You failed today.
Yeah, I guess so.
So let's get right into the core content. We'll definitely talk about the SolarWinds hack, which is huge. And you told me before the stream that you guys are kind of busy today with that. And we'll get into the YouTube thing. I don't know if that was related or not. No one's really said anything yet. But first, let's get right into the meat of, dude, how can we start hacking? What's the best way? I know you work with some great companies, and in fact, you've been doing some fun things recently with a certain company. What's the best way to do this, man? How can we start hacking?
Yeah, so I always recommend people explore and tinker and play because the whole background, right, that you kind of have originally is just having a passion for this thing and feeling that it's fun and something that you're really interested and engaged in. And then when you have that kind of curious, inquisitive mindset and that mentality, you want to do more of this because it gets really hard and it kind of gets tough and you get a little discouraged. But I think you can level that out and make it really good for you because there are activities and exercises and training that you can do and you have fun with it and you love it along the way. So I always shout from the rooftops that capture the flag or those CTF games and activities, that's the best way to do it. I always think that's the best way to get your hands on keyboard and do it for real. Do the real practical, tangible, the real hacking stuff that's not just talking about it, you know?
The real hacking stuff, okay. And real quick, there's an echo, so I'll be working on this in the background, making sure nothing breaks. But so real quick, kind of go on with that. When you say real hacking stuff, what does that mean? How can someone start doing that right now?
Yeah, it's funny. You know, all the time or often we kind of hear about some presentations and talks and meetings that we all have talking about cybersecurity, and there are a lot of buzzwords and stuff, terms that we might just kind of throw around that have been a little oversaturated, a little overused. And I don't need to name and shame any of those, but everyone has in their head, you know, the terms that they have probably heard a little too much of. But I think getting on keyboard and doing it for real is where it's really at. So when I say real hacking, I mean being in the weeds, programming, scripting, writing your own code, whether or not that's in Python, whether or not that's in C#, whatever language of choice, and exploring different vulnerabilities, exploring different bugs and software flaws and taking advantage, maybe writing your own exploit and doing.
Okay, and so doing it for real. What's the best way to start that, though? Because you Google hacking and how to start hacking, it's daunting. I know, learning Python here, learning Linux there, doing this and that, but where do I start?
Yeah. It's really hard. There's no good one size fits all solution and answer for everyone because everyone's going to learn differently and everyone kind of absorbs and gathers information in a different way. I always really recommend people start with Linux, start with the command line, start to kind of get knowledge of the file system, knowing how to like navigate, move your way around between CD, LS, obviously the super simple commands that we're used to every day. Those are totally new for some people. Maybe someone doesn't know, hey, the difference between a mouse and a keyboard. So I point people towards Over the Wire. Overthewire.org, I think, is a great resource. Bandit, kind of their first getting started at war game. And that's what they all are, war games, right, to practice and to train. Over the Wire does a great job showcasing some Linux fundamentals, and you can really use that as a jumping off point. They get into Python, they get into Pico CTF, and other games and activities to learn.
So I've definitely seen and War Games is free, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So there are some platforms, and we'll talk about a lot of these more in depth, right? Between Hack the Box, between TryHackMe, between Pentester Labs, and plenty of the others. Some of them are free. Most of them are free. Some of them have like a subscription option. So you might be able to go so far as say just about all of them are free. But if you want to get more, if you want to access more material, more resources, see a different kind of attack, explore Windows Active Directory or hardcore exploit development and binary exploitation. And, okay, there's a little cost to that sometimes, but a lot of the stuff is free. The internet's wide open, and you can go jump in and learn, Google around.
Okay. So once we start with the war games and we kind of go through that, we get the familiarity with Linux and everything, where do we go from there?
After I feel like you've got kind of Linux under your belt, I would recommend people pick up a scripting language or pick up a programming language. Python is my weapon of choice, honestly. I just tend to use that because it's a hacker's language, right? It's easy to read, it's easy to write, and there are tons of libraries, modules, functionality, and documentation, right? A lot of people use this language, so we talk about it a lot. We share the knowledge. Pick up a scripting language so you've kind of got a tool in your toolkit, you know, a weapon or a sword on your shoulder that you could use. And then maybe those steps 1, Linux, step 2, Python or a scripting language. Then step 3, go play Capture the Flag. I really, really recommend ctftime.org. Online there at ctftime.org, you can see all the upcoming events and competitions, activities and games that you can play in, all free and all online, like all remote. I know, okay, it's kind of tough to go to some IRL spots right now. So, hey, you can play online.
So recently I saw that you were doing some stuff with TryHackMe. Tell me about them. Are they pretty fun?
I love TryHackMe. And I don't know, maybe some people might poo-poo on that because you survey everything that's out there. I'm just a dude. I'm just a guy kind of in the community. And I like, we like the stuff that's nice and good to work with. So TryHackMe is great because it's very, very beginner friendly. So for folks that kind of aren't familiar with this and they want to get started, TryHackMe is a great resource. TryHackMe will willingly give you the solutions. It'll give you the write-ups even before you've solved the task. So if you're banging your head against the wall, if you were trying to get some attack, some exploit, abuse some vulnerability in some way, and you just can't get it, look, there's no shame in just looking at the answers. They're just taking a peek, just kind of getting enough to see, okay, this is how I could move on in that task. Because you're trying to learn, right? Sometimes if you're beating your head against the wall for weeks on end, that sucks, and that really, really kind of drags you down. That's all right. They'll offer hints. They'll hold your hand. They'll give you a guided procedure to go through some learning. And I think TryHackMe is an incredible learning tool. It's free.
Yeah, that's, I did one of the Advent of Cyber things they're doing right now, which is really cool. It's free for everyone to use, and it's Christmas themed, and they take you through a bunch of like beginner friendly hacking things, and it was fun. Like it was really fun because, yeah, there were points where I'm like, I don't know how to do this. This is weird. I feel stupid. Like whatever. But you can click on the hint and you're solid. You're good. Like they'll show you how to do it, and you do end up learning a ton through the process. They even give you like kind of a write up about what you're learning. Like the first one was about cookies and HTTP, and like it was basic stuff, but so helpful for people just starting out.
I tried to help kind of kick off that Advent of Cyber event and the whole exercise for this month. So there's a cheesy video of me in like a Santa hat and a red bathrobe, just getting started, working through those cookies. And my own task, one that I had helped create and build and put together, was released just yesterday, December 13th. So that was showcasing an old like Linux kernel vulnerability, taking advantage of dirty cow. I don't know if you're familiar with kind of that technique, but it's a kernel exploit. So some old school kind of old deprecated technologies like Ubuntu 12.04 was what we ended up using. And that's vulnerable to this dirty cow kernel exploit you could use. So I wanted to showcase that, highlight that, and I don't know, let people do it. Let people play and tinker with it, explore that code and compile it and do it.
Awesome. No, I do have this like burning question I always think about, and I'm not sure if you already mentioned this before, but you mentioned learning Python. How much Python or programming does someone who needs to learn hacking like need to know? Like, do we have to become full-fledged programmers or developers? Can we limp along with a bit of scripting knowledge? Where would you say is the best, like the sweet spot in knowing a scripting or programming language?
So I'll go right out and say it that like I am not any excellent or incredible programmer or software engineer, right? I can't architect a whole application that could be used enterprise-wide all across an organization. I don't have the smarts for that, truth be told, right? So you don't need to know an entire language inside and out the back of your hand. You don't need to write an incredible application that supports however million users. You don't need all those chops. I do think you kind of need to understand programming logic, right? Okay, what's a variable? What's a function? What does this for loop do? What does this while loop do? How can I read and understand that? And then putting those puzzle pieces together, being able to kind of have that intuition or grow some critical thinking where you can solve a problem with the tools in your toolkit, right? Computers and programming languages, programming in general is just being able to do something really fast a lot of times. So being able to automate attacks if you're doing SQL injection, right? Okay, one example of vulnerability. Sure, you could do that and maybe there's a quick and easy dump of the whole database with an or 1 = 1 logic condition, right?
Okay.
But what if it's not giving you the whole database output? It's not leaking everything all at once. It'll give you maybe an error message or some notification that, hey, I wasn't able to return all the results. But now you have this kind of mental switch, this duality between a true value and a false value that returns from the database and the server. So you could write a script, you could automate and program, whether it be in Python or whatever language of your choice. You could try and determine one after the other what character will get that true message. And you could be doing a blind SQL injection because you've written code that'll script and weaponize that. Is that, I don't know, does that sort of answer your question?
Yes, it does. And in one part, yeah, I understand that learning the basics of programming will get you to a place where you can start maybe writing your own hacking tools, automating some of the attacks. But then I think about when we get to like maybe web app testing, where you're looking at a web application and you're looking at some developer's code, trying to find a hole in there. Do you need to understand like some deep programming to be able to kind of parse through what they've written to be able to find bugs? Yeah,
now you've given a kind of a good spin on it because it helps having that software developer background and just kind of saying, oh, sure, I'm working with a PHP web server, or I'm working against a Flask or a Django like web application. So if you have had a little bit more familiarity or your experience with how that language and that library will work and put together, well, that super duper helps. You're trying to find those flaws, you're trying to find those gimmicks, what function might be dangerous or unsafe to call. That is definitely a great skill. That definitely helps you out if you have just a little bit of know-how or you've tinkered and played with that utility before. You've tried to create something and then break it after the fact. It gives you a cool retrospect, I think.
Okay, gotcha. Now, by the way, I had a chat come in from Abed. He says, tell him that he is a legend.
Thanks so much, Abed. You're a legend too.
So where was I going after that? Okay, so I'm pretty familiar with, and I think most of my audience is, with like getting started hacking, learning some scripting languages, learning some Linux, getting to the point where you can go through some try hack me boxes and maybe even hack the box and going crazy. How long do you think it takes to be able to put the badge on and say, you know what, I'm a hacker? What do you think is the time frame? And obviously that varies based on how much time you have each day to get into it, what your background is. So I guess maybe for people who are watching who are just, they're new to IT and they think hacking sounds really freaking sweet, what can they do? And how long will it take?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head when you said, hey, it's a little subjective. It's kind of tough because it depends on how much you're able to dedicate to it. And that's why I mention the passion, right? That's why I mentioned the drive and the determination to want to learn this and want to play with it. So I've been doing, I guess, security, big umbrella term, right? I've been doing this sort of thing for 5 years, 6 years now. But I mean, that's not to say, okay, it's going to take that long. You might be a master of your craft in a year if you spend every single day practicing, working on your skill set, trying to get better, studying for certifications, going after courses, et cetera, et cetera. I remember in the early days where I feel like I was getting started. I feel like when I wanted to learn and just be a sponge and absorb everything. I remember staying up late. And I remember like looking at my phone, right, to set an alarm for the next day. Like, hey, I got to get up at 6 or whatever, and I've got to get up at 7. And I remember the alarm notification tells you, like, your alarm will go off in 3 hours. Oh, good. It's 3 in the morning or whatever, because I've been trying to improve myself. I've been trying to study. I've been trying to practice and prepare. So I think that dedication helps. That's really the best way to do it. Maybe it'll take 6 months to pick up something new. Maybe it'll take a year, maybe it'll take 2 or more, but don't let that discourage you. Just tinker.
Just tinker. I like that. I like that. And yeah, of course, it does, of course, vary based on your background. Now, what you do, like I've talked with Stoke and I've talked with Nahamsek, and they're more bug bounty. Are you into bug bounty, or do you kind of do a different kind of hacking?
Yeah, I really wish I was more into bug bounty. It's life takes over, right? Obligations and commitments and things and responsibilities. And I have failed to make the time to get into bug bounty. I don't know if you can hear my dog barking in the background or whining because like, hey, we got stuff we got to take care of at home. I don't do as much bug bounty as I'd like to, but I've had really cool conversations with Namsek, with Ben, just trying to talk about the differences in like the mental state of capture the flag and bug bounty. Like, what's your approach? What's your method? What's your methodology? How are you going to?
And real quick, just for those of us, or those of you who are here who don't really know the difference, like when you compare what you do, which I guess is more, are you blue team or red team?
Capture the flag, I think you lean a little bit more red team, and for kind of what I have done in the past as a red team operator is offensive, adversarial. You put on your hacker hat. You're acting as the adversary. You're being the bad guy.
So essentially,
good.
So sorry. So essentially, I mean, red teaming, if you're doing bug bounty or you're doing kind of capture the flag, kind of pen testing scenarios, those are both red teaming scenarios. What's the main difference between those two guys?
So bug bounty, in my mind, you're working against a real life actual application. You're trying to find the bugs and the software flaws and the vulnerabilities in a real company and their real application that they put out for real in the real world. That is the reason why if you find potential software flaws, you can get paid. And that's the awesome thing with Stoke and Namsek and HackerOne, Integrity and BugCrowd and all these different bug bounty like VDPs or vulnerability disclosure programs, stuff like that, because it's for real. And there's a little asterisk and a disclaimer with that one, because that's a pretty wide pool to play in, right? Mm-hmm. That's the whole internet you might be beating up.
Yeah.
And there might not be a vulnerability there. You might be banging your head against the wall and it's completely fruitless. There's nothing that you could hack into.
That's a good point. I mean, these big companies like Apple and Tesla are saying, hey, come hack us, because they're probably thinking, we're pretty good. Like, we're good. But just in case, come at us.
That's
So
a
that
formidable foe.
so that does suck though, because I mean you're literally beating your head against the wall for I don't know how long it takes a normal bounty to take, and then you could end up finding nothing. That would be super frustrating, demoralizing. Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah. So the other side of that coin, right? When we talk about capture the flag, that's a game. That's a sport. Sometimes people kind of trivialize that, where they say, "Oh, it's not real world. It's not real hacking." I would counter that and say, "No, it absolutely is. You're going to be getting exposed to different technologies, different software, different vulnerabilities and exploits that you do really see in the real world, or you might stumble upon a 0-day doing your research and doing crazy stuff. That's happened. That's for real. The hard part with that is that bug bounty in that real life application, there's going to be some tough security because it's like an actual corporation business entity.
Yeah, yeah. It
They're
wasn't like
probably gonna
tailor made to find the vulnerability. They're thinking, I
Right.
don't have anything wrong with me, but just prove me wrong.
Yeah. Bug bounty and capture the flag differ in that. Where in the CTF, you know that there's a vulnerability. You know that there's something that you can exploit and take advantage of and abuse. So that helps you kind of zoom in and kind of narrow what you were looking at and what you're researching and learning about. But then you might not get paid as much. Who knows?
So describe what you do. So I mean, I guess you are a capture the flag type of guy, but like professionally, you work for Huntress Labs, correct?
I do, yes.
And what is it you do? Like I know you kind of
So
mentioned in the beginning, but like let's dig a little deeper and like, okay, I'm a noob. Tell me what you do.
Sure. And I don't mean for this to ever accidentally be some sort of product pitch. I don't mean to be speaking on behalf of Huntress or anything. This is just me, John, telling you a little bit about what I do. So I work in the threat ops department, which means that I'm going to be looking at the tech and the programs and files and all the code that we end up seeing and scrolling by on a day-to-day. So Huntress specifically focuses on persistence and that back door that a hacker might leave so they can maintain their access. And I love this. I think this is a super simple idea, but crazy smart, because if a hacker does break in, if a hacker does compromise your network, what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to leave their persistence. They're going to make sure they can get back in really easily.
Right, right.
So that's what we hunt for. And we might be looking at malware or ransomware or command and control servers or crypto miners or beacons that do post exploitation to steal data. And we're trying to understand, okay, how's that going to look? Is that living off the land techniques where you use the programs that are native to your computer by default? Okay, your Windows computer, oh, it's got PowerShell. Oh, it'll run maybe some Microsoft Office or Microsoft Word macros. You really see those. That's how you can land that phishing attack. That's how you can get that spear phishing or whaling technique to get initial access on a victim or a target.
Okay, okay. So you're basically doing advanced techniques to try and find the footholds that hackers will get when they do find an exploit or vulnerability.
Yeah, absolutely. And that can be a quite a deep rabbit hole because that means that we want to look at those real world stuff, right? They're going to have to, the hackers, right, the bad guys and the threat actors, they have to deliver a payload and they have to get their exploit in and slide under the radar because you've got to deal with antivirus, your Windows Defender, your, I don't know, whatever you want, Norton, McAfee, I'm just listing things off the top of my head. And you've got to be able to get it to execute and not be detected. It's got to be stealthy. It's got to be a good hack. So it's going to be obfuscated. It's going to be kind of mangled and it looks like gibberish. How can you always detect that with a signature or with some heuristics, that our antivirus solutions or our firewalls always talk about? I think it's paramount to have a human understand it. Like, I don't know, you, NetworkChuck, might look at some big long string of text and you see a couple equal signs at the end there. You're like, oh, that's base 64. Oh, they're trying to hide some data from me. Mm-hmm. They're encoding it in a different way. That hey, you've got that context, you've got that understanding and that intuition. Hey, why is my like WordPad, why is my Word Office document processor spawning a command prompt? That doesn't make sense.
No, no. If it does that, guys, run. Just throw your
Right.
computer away. It's gone. So, did I lose you? I wasn't sure if I lost you there.
Oh, no.
Okay,
Still with
cool.
me?
Yeah. So I had a question from, let's see, it was from Travis. Let me pull it up here so I can actually read it. I lost it in the queue here, but it's on the screen right now. You might be able to see it. It says, what certification would you recommend as an embedded safety critical software engineers get into the industry? Oh, here it is. Let me start over. What certification would you recommend an embedded safety critical software engineers get in the industry able to, hold on, to kind of worded weird, Travis. I'll work on it though. System safely talking to services in the cloud. So I guess are there any certifications around embedded systems, so I guess IoT maybe, talking to the cloud? It's kind of a hard question to answer.
I'll be honest, yeah. I can start to talk a little bit about some neat, nerdy certifications, though. Talking about the cloud specifically, right, we got a couple players in the game. We got DigitalOcean, for one thing. We've got Microsoft Azure, however you want to say it.
Azure.
AWS, yeah. You're hardcore Azure?
Oh, it was my first love. I'm not tied to
Nice.
anyone, but it was my first love.
Excellent. Obviously, there's the Google Cloud Platform, GCP, and each of those, I think, have their own stack of certifications, right? So you're pretty familiar with the Microsoft Azure one. They've got a solid, hey, Microsoft like library of that, right?
Oh, yeah. You got the AZ 104, which is their associate level certification. Solid.
Cool.
So, I got a question from ours, and they're just saying hi. They said, I freaking love you guys. Met you 4 months ago. I guess talking to you, I started with practice with THC, Try Hack Me, I think, right? Security, pen testing, and networking, and I really love CTF. Cheers from Argentina. You are the real heroes for me, for real. That's cool.
Thanks so much.
Now,
It's super fulfilling.
yeah, no, it is. It means a lot to hear that kind of stuff. Now, do you have any hacking certifications? I'm curious.
I do. Oh, goodness.
Or
I'm going to sound like
which ones do you not have? That's a better question, right?
I'm going to sound like such a jerk, such a D-bag of like, oh, I have OS blah, 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 and just list off all these letters to my name.
Well, this is actually interesting because, the last two guys I had on the channel, Stoke and Nomsec, they don't do certifications. They're bug bounty.
Yeah.
They're like, they don't do that game. But you're different. You do CTFs, you do pen testing, you focus on the enterprise. And so you do certifications because that makes sense for you. What do you have? And I guess after we are here for 3 hours and you list all your certifications, tell us what your favorite one is and which ones you think we should get.
For sure. So if it's cool, I'll give you a little bit of my background and kind of why
please.
I wanted to go through some of all those. So like I originally kind of got my feet wet in cybersecurity and hacking and all this stuff with the U.S. Coast Guard. And the military kind of pours that flare of, okay, what's good versus evil? What's good versus bad here? We care more about the security of stuff rather than making all these new things. And that was how I kind of got into it. Because I originally, like every kid, I want to make video games when I get older.
I think 90% of us all wanted to do that, and only 1% of us ended up doing it. Yeah.
I'm waiting on your next mobile game, NetworkChuck.
Oh, no, because then y'all will just hack it and it'll be pointless.
So I wanted to learn all that stuff, so I got into programming first, and then that introduced me to the cybersecurity scene and hacking and capture the flag, pen testing, bug bounty, all of it. The floodgates opened up, and being in that sphere, then I kind of pivoted to the Department of Defense and was looking at more like government contracting jobs. So they have a little bit more of an eye because of their standards, right, and all the policies and stuff that they have to meet. They got to make sure their employers have certifications. So I wanted to pick up just to bolster my resume, right, to get the foot in the door, to skirt past HR. I went for Security Plus. Security Plus was my first certification. because you needed to have it. It was like DoD 8570 level 2 or something. And then I went for OSCP because everyone has to have that. I guess, I don't know. That's got a lot of, industry recognition. That has a lot of public knowledge to it.
It does. It does. Like, so, like, real quick, I want to pause there for a second. So that's something
Sure.
I'm pursuing right now is the OSCP. So you went from Security Plus to OSCP. That seems to me like an ocean between those two certifications. How did you even like begin to look at that?
Yeah. And I'll be honest here, right? So Security Plus was kind of something that I needed to go for and I had to have for the job, right? So that's something that it's just a checkbox. I'll be honest. And in my mind, that was very high level and conversational and ideas and mental processes and things, right?
So theory and no practical at that point, right? Is what,
Yeah.
You can dump on it. It's okay. It's fine.
So all this time, I had been studying and practicing and playing with Capture the Flag, which is, again, in my mind, that real-world, actual hands-on keyboard technical stuff. So the OSCP is like the crown jewel, right? I want to go after that. And everything that I had learned through playing Capture the Flag, through looking through Try Hack Me, Hack the Box, Over the Wire, Smash the Stack, etc. I could list resources and war games forever. But all that stuff super duper prepared me for the offensive security certified professional. So it's just like a rite of passage. You got to get that. And then what's next? I wanted to keep kind of running through that offensive security gauntlet. So OSCE, OSWE, OSWP. I started to look into the eLearn security stuff, ECPPT, EJPT, the Python certification one. I just kind of want to have my name. Hey, I know Python, right? Believe me when I say it. It's fun. I think those are really cool because they are hands-on, because they're application-based learning. So that just felt like a challenge and something to tinker with, something to play with.
So, okay, so you just listed like the alphabet, and that was a lot of stuff. Now, everyone knows the OSCP. I've definitely seen the other acronyms they throw out, the OSCE. Is that like a more advanced version of the OSCP? Is that
Yeah, so OSCE originally was meant to be Offensive Security Certified Expert. And that got into some binary exploitation and like memory corruption stuff and Windows buffer overflows and egg hunters, instruction exception handlers, etc. Originally. And that was an old course. So I'm sure you're familiar, and everyone, I think a lot of your audience is familiar with Kali Linux. But before that, there was Backtrack Linux.
Oh, yeah. And
that was the old course that OSCE would ship with Backtrack as their virtual machine. So it was in need of an update. It kind of needed a little revamp. So now OffSec has changed that to OSCE 3, like cubed, and they're rolling out new courses to be able to take the place of that. And they actually retired that original, like, old school binary exploitation course.
That's probably for the best, I would assume. Now, I'm curious, like with the course like OSCP, I mean, I get like Try Hack Me and Hack the Box, how they can stay up to date with all the new trends. A new hack comes out, a new thing you have to know, they make a new box that matches that skill set. How can like OSCP and all these other certifications keep up? Because like there's so many new things happening all the time. And by the way, we got a new member of the channel, Daruno. Welcome to the 10X Engineer. Whoop, whoop. Anyways, by the way, guys, just so you know, before we answer this next question, we will do some Q&A at the end of our discussion here. So bring in the questions, and we'll knock them out here in a bit. Anyways, continue.
Oh no, where did we leave off? Goodness.
Oh yeah, I kind of took us down a path. Oh, okay. How can do you think the OSCP and all these hacking certifications keep up with the current demands of what a hacker needs, the skill sets?
Yes. Weird. So it's funny because we hold OSCP up on that pedestal because it's the rite of passage. Everyone's got to get it. It's a way to get kind of that notch on your belt as a pen tester. But after the fact, once you've got that done. You've washed your hands of OSCP. You're feeling accomplished. Then all of a sudden, everyone tells you that's an entry level certification, and you're like, "What? I
Don't tell
studied
me
so
that.
hard. I know. I like this is the hardest thing. Everyone talks about it, and no, that's for babies."
So
I'm not.
was it as hard as people say?
Yes, and I'll say that with the caveat because like I felt good going through it because I felt like hey I practiced and I got prepared and I learned enough for it. But for someone that's kind of new to the scene, getting into it, it might throw you for a loop. Again, it's not extremely off the wall, incredibly hard, but it'll challenge you. That's the whole point.
Okay, gotcha. And it's a wide range of skills, right? I mean,
It
it
is.
covers so many different tools, and from what I understand, you can come at it from different ways. You can use whatever tool you want to attack these scenarios.
There is a limit, I think, on your use of metasploit, right? Because metasploit is that huge open source framework, incredible tool to be able to pull an exploit right off the shelf and just load it in like you're loading a gun and hey, it's point and click hacking, it's point and shoot hacking. So you can only use it once for the OSCP.
So, okay, I do want to hit this subject before we move on. And I asked Stoke and I asked Namsek, but what's your definition of it? Because you mentioned Metasploit. What's your definition of a script kiddie?
Ooh,
Because
That's
we all don't want to be one. That's bad.
Right.
Bad. How do we avoid it?
that's a dangerous question here. It's a loaded. I think what will differentiate you from being a script kiddie is kind of that second step that I talked about, right? Is that once you've picked up your programming language, you've picked up the scripting language that you love and you want to work with, you will start to write your own tools and you will start to automate. And that doesn't have to be, again, your always own creation because you're going to pour around, you're going to explore on GitHub and you'll see other people's code. And you're like, this is awesome. They did an incredible job with this. But if you were able to look through it and read it and tweak it just slightly, kind of change it for your own purpose as you need, okay, you're not a script kiddie because you're adapting what you need for your environment. If you just sort of change the port and you change the IP address, maybe you're a script kiddie. It's really hard to to contain that. I don't know.
And I agree with that in part.
Yeah.
And of course, this is me, expert NetworkChuck. No, I'm a noob in hacking, but I've heard a lot of people say like, as long as you understand the technologies you're using as you're issuing or using these tools, you understand networking, you understand the exploits. You're not just going click, oh well, it's on fire. Cool, I did it. No, you have to understand why it caught on fire, why it's down. But yeah, that's interesting. So now. With the hacking certs, you got the OSCP, you got all the e-learns. Which would you say is now? Did you get all the e-learns? Like, did you get all of them?
No.
Okay.
I have plenty more to do.
So actually, that's going to lead into my next question after this one. Which one was the hardest one for you?
Oh. I'll be honest. The OSWE, and that pulls us in kind of a different direction from our conversations, right? That was offensive security's web exploitation.
So the bug bounty stuff is what gets you.
It's interesting because I consider web to be like my favorite. Like that's the first category I'll go for in a
Really?
Jeopardy style capture the flag game. But they're going to throw some, again, enterprise wide applications that you might not see in a for fun tiny capture the flag game. So you'll have some .NET giant code base like ASPX website that you'll have to pour through, and OSWE changes your mentality because with OSCP and all the other offensive security certifications, you're doing like a black box test, where you don't know what is on that server and you're trying to from externally trying to break into it and take it apart. OSWE, they're going to give you all the source code. They're going to give you that entire application, and you get to see on that server how it works. And it's like finding a needle in a haystack when you're looking through a gig or 2 gigabytes of someone else's source code.
Oh my gosh,
that was tough.
That sounds terrible. And I would imagine you would use tools to parse through all those things, and you'd have to know how to use those tools to find everything. But still, it sounds like a tedious job. That
It's funny. Now, offensive security tells you like, hey, you're not allowed to use any automated tools.
Really?
For finding that vulnerability. Yeah, you kind of got to look through the code paths and explore where can your input go? Like, what can you control as the end user, as the hacker? And how does that data follow through in the code procedure? And then you'll look for those unsafe functions. You'll look for those flaws and vulnerabilities. Still, needle in a haystack.
Dude, yeah, I'm not gonna do that one. Although I can't say that yet because I might like it. I don't know. That just from the onset sounds terrible. So that was your most difficult one. Now you mentioned someone asked about it earlier, and I wanted to ask about it as well. You mentioned a Python certification. Was that part of the hacking certification portfolio that you went through?
That is, I think, known as PCAP. Yeah, the Python Certified Associate in Python Programming. That's something that the Python Institute puts out, and I'm like Googling off on my other monitor right now.
Well, that's confusing because PCAP is a Wireshark capture, and why do they do that?
Exactly.
The first thing you search, PCAP is like Wireshark. Oh crap! Okay, how do I search this?
Yep.
Okay, so
I think they're waiting on like the next renditions of that because they consider the Certified Associate to be like the beginner getting started fundamentals one, and they're wanting to roll out others, but I don't know if they're out yet.
Interesting. So
Right.
I love people. My channel knows I love certifications. I love the ability to have a curriculum, a standard, a path to go down, and then take the test and say, yeah, dude, I know it. I've been validated. What do you think about Python certifications? Do they actually validate that skill set? Tough questions. I'm like firing.
No, it's good. It's good. You're grilling me. It's good. My answer to that is no. And maybe that'll make a couple people uneasy. I don't know. So we've had the conversations, right, between a theoretical multiple choice test where maybe you just need rote memorization and it's a data dump. You forget it the next day. Then we have the hands-on, practical, application-based exams where you really got to get in the weeds and do it for real.
Mm-hmm.
I think that helps. I prefer the latter. But when you're trying to do a programming certification, it's weird sometimes. PCAP, I think, specifically would give you, here's what the code looks like. Read it and tell me what's wrong or what this does or what the result of this operation might be. Okay. And that's like a strange and uncomfortable amalgamation of those two, right? But you're not writing it yourself. You're not building it. You're not doing it. So maybe it's a little lackluster in my mind, but that's my opinion, right? I'm just one guy, just one dude. I can't say if that's gospel or not.
So it sounds like at best they're teaching you how to like be a good quality control guy, like being able to look through code and see what's happening, but not be able to write it yourself. Now, would you say that a certification like PCAP would be enough to say, okay, I know enough Python to go through some hacking things or demonstrate I can do Python scripting and hacking?
Yeah, so I would say yes to that one. I wanted to have PCAP at the very least on my resume. So when I told someone, yeah, I know Python, that they actually believe me. Like, and it helps obviously having a resume. It helps obviously like having your portfolio, your
Right.
GitHub that you can share and you can showcase. But something about these 3 or 4 letters, I don't know. HR likes their certifications, so.
They do. They really do. And that's why certifications are there. Like it's
Right.
for HR to weed through people. It's for hiring managers to be able to find people like us. So you got a million certifications. You got the OSCP after Security Plus. Of course, you had a lot of work in between that, going through CTFs and all these different things. So remind me again, how long have you been doing this side of security? You said 6 years?
Yeah, I think 5 years now, 5 to 6.
And before then, what were you doing?
So then it was play and learn and experiment in software development or just creating. And that's kind of where I had picked up as much of Python as I guess I do. People make fun of me, my channel, my audience likes to poke fun at me, like, hey, wherever John goes, as long as he has a Python interpreter, he'll be okay, because I'll just default to using that.
Well, that's good. I like Python for that reason. It is kind of the de facto language for every area of IT right now. I talk a lot about network engineering and cloud stuff, and dude, Python is right there. Every
Everywhere.
test, every document, it's like, yeah, you can learn anything you want, but we're going to talk about Python. Well, then we should probably learn Python.
For sure.
Now, eLearn Security, I look at their certifications, and they have a million acronyms like every other person does, and they're not as well known, at least from my perspective, when I look up things. So do you recommend starting with like the EJPT? Is that the first one you should start with?
Yeah, EJPT is the junior penetration tester, and that's not meant to water down or distill anything that you're learning, but it's meant to create the foundation. It's meant to lay out the framework so that you can learn and you understand all those networking concepts. So you aren't a script kiddie. And back to that conversation that we had, and it gets actually pretty in depth. Or it touches on, I think, different concepts and techniques that you don't see in other certifications, especially pivoting and like being able to laterally move around a network that you might have compromised during your hack. And that adds a real world element to it, right? But I don't think you see that all the time in other certification exams. So eLearn Security, I think, really bolsters what we're going to be seeing in an actual realistic network environment.
And that's what I've heard about eLearn. So that brings me to my next question, and I'm constantly getting this question all the time. The entry-level hacking certifications, we have some big names in the fight here. We've got, and this is assuming After Security Plus, which I know isn't like hands-on, but it does give you that good base, and it does satisfy the DoD compliance. But now we have CEH from the EC Council. We've got Pen Test Plus from CompTIA. Then we have the eLearn certifications. First of all, have you taken Pen Test Plus? I assume you have, just because you've taken everything.
To be honest, I have not done.
We found one he hasn't done. We found one.
Yeah, you guys got me.
But I would assume, being in the industry, you may have heard a few things about it. So without having taken it, what would you say is the best place for someone to start? And would you even say CEH at all?
Oh. I don't want to be that guy. No,
it's okay. You're on here to give people direction, and if you have a great opinion, because you're in the industry, like it's very rare to get someone like yourself on this answer. So let's lead some people in the right direction.
I don't hold a lot of water to CEH, because it feels like that kind of rote memorization data dump. And I've taken CEH, and I got that out of the way for a DoD, standard. But it wasn't fun, and I didn't like it, and I would not, admittedly, advocate for that. And again, that's not to poo-poo on EC Council, just my thoughts and opinion as a guy and as a member of the community. You might have to school me on Pentest Plus. You might have to kind of fill me in as to all the goodies that CompTIA and the ringer that they'll throw you for Pentest Plus.
Yeah,
I'll be honest.
I haven't taken it yet, but I've heard good things about it. And the fact that I think it gives you the same compliance that CEH does. They recently got that DoD compliance. I think it was 8570. So it checks that box at like, I don't know, a 16th the price. I mean, goodness gracious, CEH is so expensive. That's what the biggest.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I remember that. Like, this hurt my wallet. Just.
Yeah, like, and also you have to, I mean, they say it's entry level, but then you have to demonstrate you have like 2 years of experience, or I forget what it is, but you have to have experience. Yeah. You have to prove it. Like, come on, dude. I'm paying you for this. Just let me try. It doesn't matter.
I have not taken the CEH like practical, so I take my opinion with a grain of salt, because as I've said, I much prefer the practical, hands-on, tangible application, and I don't know how that looks in CEH practical. I had just taken it when it was the multiple choice thing. So.
Yeah, and it's also, it's a separate test. I mean, most people are going to go down the CEH, the main one. I forget what they call it. It's just CEH. But yeah, they have the practical. But who actually does practical? I mean, I think the practical for most people would be move on and go to OSCP. That's kind of what I imagine, right? It's goodness. So in your mind, in the industry you're in now, if you were to look and try to hire somebody for your team, what certification do you want to see on their resume? If it had to be one.
Ooh, this is a tough question. It'll bring us into new territory. So
Good.
we talked a lot about OSCP, and we talked a lot about all these other different certifications. And we talked a little bit about how Huntress, or the stuff that I would do for my team, is now getting into actual real malware samples and ransomware and post-exploitation command and control, all the crazy stuff, all the real world stuff. And now when I mentioned OSCP is that entry-level certification, okay, that's like a stab through the heart. But OffSec and Offensive Security has just released OSEP. And that's a new one. That's a whole nother acronym thrown into the mix of our alphabet soup.
I need to test just for the acronyms, and then I can, once I pass that, then I can take one of the exams. Goodness gracious.
So OSEP, I think they call it like what? Experienced penetration tester. But it dives into creating a phishing Microsoft Office macro. It dives into doing some HTTP smuggling, like a drive-by download, to force a file onto your computer if you just visited the attacker's website. It gets into antivirus evasion between like loading shellcode into memory through PowerShell or through C# or through Visual Basic Script or JScript, all these other options that you have native to Windows. And it's super cool. They just released it. I'm cruising through it or trying to, and I'm a big fan. I honestly really like it, and that certainly is in line with what I'm seeing day to day.
Really? Okay, so if you saw the OSEP, the OSEP on someone's resume, you're like, okay, top of the resume pile.
For me, at the moment, I was going through the course last week, and I remember seeing some PowerShell commandlet that would like compile C# on the fly to be able to use in code. And I remember seeing some files that it created, like artifacts that it left on disk for that technique. And I was like, oh, I saw that at work, like just the other day. And I'm like,
cool.
Oh, this finally.
That's amazing. And I imagine that might be kind of a rare moment to have like real world intersect so closely with study and certification study. That's pretty cool.
That's what we all want, though. Like at the end of the day, right? Is have it to be tangent and applicable to our jobs, our lives. So I loved that. That was such a cool, novel moment for me.
So your job, that makes sense, because like you're getting more into. Would you say it's reverse engineering malware a bit, just kind of looking under the hood?
Yeah, you're not going to be breaking open IDA Pro or Ghidra or Hopper or Binary Ninja unless you like really want to. And we totally could, right? At the end of the day, when you talk about security and you talk about it with customers, or you talk about it with people that it's affecting their business and their daily operations, you get to a point where they don't care about the nerdy stuff. Like they don't care, what kind of shellcode it's loading into memory or how it does it with whatever obfuscation. They just want to know whether it's good or bad.
That makes sense.
Sometimes you can tell right off the nose, and that's like, all right, we don't need to do our analysis because I clearly see your call to this crypto miner or whatever.
Gotcha. That makes sense. That makes total sense. So now, from your perspective, you would love to see the OSEP. Now, industry-wide, what do you think certification holds the most value? Just if I'm a new guy trying to get my foot in the door, what are people looking for?
In my mind, and I'm going on a limb in a weird way. I'm kind of operating at the edge of my understanding because eLearn Security, and they offer one course and certification called EPTX, and it's Penetration Testing Extreme.
Everyone goes for the X, and that's hilarious.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's elite, Yeah.
I gotta look this up.
But that ECPTX showcases more in the weeds Windows exploitation, Active Directory penetration testing, and abusing Microsoft Exchange, et cetera, et cetera. And when you look at a penetration testing job for a real organization or enterprise, you've got like what, 99, 95, 90% of all endpoint devices or workstations or servers are Windows.
Yep.
Yeah, some are Linux, right? We can't forget there are plenty of servers that are Linux, but doing a real world penetration test, you're going to be targeting the user, targeting the client, the poor human phishing attack victim, and then you'll break into the domain. You get into the domain controller and you do all this. I think that ECPTX really, really gets into that. Now, the caveat, the asterisk here, I haven't finished ECPTX, so again, don't take that one with a grain of salt.
Stop being so lazy, man. You got to get on this. I'm really disappointed in you.
I'm waiting on you. Once you get it, then I know I can, right?
Oh, if you wait for me, you're gonna be waiting for a while, dude. Now, a lighter note. I've got a comment here that says, I don't know if you've ever gotten this. You're a mix between Seth Rogen and Ed Sheeran. If you're a hacker.
I see it all the time. Every single YouTube video.
That's funny. I love it when
it's either Ed Sheeran or Seth Rogen or the Jurassic Park, like the John Hammond jokes.
Yes, yes. Actually, before the live stream, I was like telling my wife, I'm like making my coffee. Is that the same guy from Jurassic Park? Am I going to bring that up? Yeah, I should. So I'm glad you brought it up for me. That's excellent.
Love it. It's big shoes to fill. I don't know how I'm ever going to overtake that name on the internet.
That's pretty difficult. Like I don't. You know what? I think you'll have to hack your way into it. Just put it that way.
Google. I'm on.
Apparently they're hackable. So good. Well, we'll get to that here in a minute. By the way, how much time do you have? I don't want to keep you too long.
I have the evening for you, my friend.
Oh man, 8-hour stream. Here we come, guys. I have to make some more coffee in a minute.
So I don't know if I'm okay to say, but like NetworkChuck and I, this is the first time we've met. So if we're broing out, like that's for real.
Nothing is staged here, and I told him that before. I'm like, don't tell me anything about yourself. Leave me just a mystery, because I want to actually get to know you on the stream. We can all get to know you together, and I think that's more authentic. It's more fun. So I'm gonna keep drilling you on some certification stuff. So you mentioned I can't remember the freaking acronyms, dude. I get lost so much. So ECPTX, and now they're on version 2. So that sounds cool. Right. And obviously Windows hacking's pretty important. Again, because you mentioned like every organization I've worked for, Windows desktop. Sometimes you might have a Mac here and there, but mainly Windows. And then the core, the Active Directory, all the servers are going to be running Windows. Most of them are. That's just how it is. Now beyond that, what kind of job do these certifications get you? Like right now, you're working for a company that mainly deals with hacking. Yeah, that's what your company does. Do individual companies, like large infrastructures, hire red teamers? Do they hire pen testers just to have on staff?
Yes and no. So no, and it's a bummer answer, especially when we kind of talk more and more about security. Because look, 2020. This year was like a freaking earthquake.
Don't say earthquake. You're giving it ideas.
Yeah. And it was a wake-up call, you know? It was just one after the other in meat space, in the real world and in the digital world. Today being no exception, and we still aren't even at the end yet. But we're seeing, hey, remote work. So your company's got to make sure all their workers, all their employees can access the company infrastructure from home. Okay, let's open RDP. Let's open remote desktop protocol to the public internet. That's a bad idea. We don't want to touch that stove again.
So people never learn. They need a couple times.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I've been goofing off and I forgot your original question here.
I forgot to.
All right, the chat. Where?
No, hold on. I'll find my way back. No, I won't. It's gone now. Let's move right along then. No. Yeah, what do companies hire pen testers to have on staff?
Yes. So, I am of the opinion that every single company should have their own like vulnerability disclosure program, their VDP, their own bug bounty. And that doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be like, okay, a bug crowd or HackerOne or anything along that. I think if you have your own internal red team that is constantly testing the product that you're making, the websites, your public, like open facing, presence on the internet in the world, that's where your security is going to be coming in from yourself. Like the onus is on you. Every company has to do that.
Right.
Because when you go for a penetration test, it is a one-time snapshot, very temporary, very ephemeral. It's a moment in time where you've looked at your security posture. Things might change,
Yeah,
So
they do.
I think having someone that is dedicated to doing that testing as part of your team makes you all the better.
Interesting. The way I always understood pen testing, and before I got into this world, was that it was just a company that people hired. Well, we need a pen test. Have them come in. We'll meet our compliance. That's the majority of the reasons I've ever hired somebody. Is just I want to be compliant. That's it.
Yep. That's exactly right. In Q4 right now, everyone's scrambling like, hey, we got to get this so we can check the box for compliance.
Gotcha. Now, do you think this is kind of a loaded question as well? So get ready, buckle your seatbelt.
Keep hitting them, yeah, man.
So we have the new DevOps culture, right? We have code being applied and patches being applied so quickly it's insane, which obviously opens up the opportunity for more hacks, more vulnerabilities. Programmers get a bit lazier, or not lazier, just they miss things. That's just human nature. Do you think that's opening up more jobs for cybersecurity? That's the first question. And to kind of piggyback on top of that, there is also more automation. There are tools that can automatically detect things and scan things for us. Do you think that maybe is causing cybersecurity jobs not to be so, maybe they'll go away? I don't know. What do you think? Because you do this all the time.
Yeah, so there was a lot to digest there. It was funny. It wasn't a loaded question. It was just a big. There was a couple parts to it.
I was just blah everything at you. Go.
So number one, you were asking about DevOps and cloud-based stuff and infrastructure at scale, right?
Yeah, exactly. So CI/CD, Kubernetes, Docker, all the buzzwords. Do you think that's leaving open holes in our stuff? And for lack of a better term, and I can't think right now, do you think it's leaving us open and more cybersecurity jobs are going to be open as well?
So let me go in a couple different places and different directions with those. First of all, I stinking love Docker, and I'm falling in love with Kubernetes. We've been trying to put together some capture the flag and training activities ourselves, like some that I and my team do. And we've moved into the Google Cloud platform to be able to take advantage of Kubernetes to cluster the front end application and all the challenges in the back end.
Okay.
And it's awesome. It's awesome. If anyone is willing to help us test this new stable infrastructure, we're hosting a game this Wednesday, and I can fill in a little bit more of that if we're cool.
Yeah.
The next part that I want to go with that is that when you had asked, does this mean we have more gaps and holes that we aren't aware of in cybersecurity?
Yeah, because vulnerabilities happen because hackers literally scan for code changes and see if there's any mistakes, and we're constantly applying changes now. And that the more changes you have, the more opportunities you have for failure.
Yeah, and it's an interesting problem when we put a lot of that reliance into that pipeline. That CI/CD pipeline, because sure, you've got something now that is good and awesome in theory, right? Because you could like mass send out and deploy and produce and bring up to production code that you've just developed. Potentially badness with that if there's a accident or mistake or flaw in what you push and what you actually send through the pipeline or the pipeline itself. Who knows? I don't think I'd be able to pinpoint one exact specific flaw or thing for you right now, but there is still a risk, as there always is with everything.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, the other question, and I'll just refresh you on that because I asked you a lot of things. Do you think automation tools, which are becoming more prevalent, do you think automation tools will eventually automate security to where it'll automatically scan for things, automatically, even AI, automatically scanning for things that normally a hacker would scan for using a buttload of tools? Do you think that'll kind of make some jobs go away?
Cool. Yeah. I remember you had asked, will this whole DevOps thing make more jobs in cybersecurity? And you got the question, will it take away some jobs, right?
Yes.
Sweet, sweet. First one, I think it will make jobs because when people are trying to get smart with Terraform and Vagrant and Ansible and Chef and Puppet and Docker and Kubernetes and all of these things, you kind of have to be pretty in the know on that. You gotta learn up and study all those things. That's going to make some jobs, in my opinion. And your question is these mass scanners, this automation, is that going to take away jobs?
And I say this like thinking about tools like GitLab, if you're familiar with that, and it'll automatically kind of scan your code as you're writing it, as you submit it in your pipeline, and look for the most popular CVEs and see if anything has been found in your code. Just automatic, bypassing security teams.
Mm-hmm. This, I think, gets into some interesting thought that I try to scream and shout from the rooftops, is that we can't always trust our automated solutions. And I tie that back to kind of the conversation of antivirus and firewall that we were talking about. Like, there's a heuristic, there's a signature, there's some behavioral analysis, and that should trigger this detection. It should flag for malicious badness and evil. Good, awesome, great. But what if it doesn't? And that's okay. Easy and sometimes hard to press the I believe button on that. But when we talk about things like our SOC or our Security Operations Center, and we've got our flashy dashboard and our single pane of glass, and the log aggregation that we're going to get all of our alerts from, all the events in the organization and enterprise. Security at scale. We talk a lot about how we get false positives. It's like, oh, God, false positives, noise, things that we don't care about, useless information that's triggering, and it's just not a real incident.
Right.
I realize that's part of the conversation that's in the spotlight, but I think we need to talk about the false negatives when there's some evil and badness and there's a hacker here, there's insecurity, but you don't know because it didn't tell you. I don't know.
Scary. Well, that was a difficult question to answer, and yeah, I think you did great. I don't think there really was a good answer. I could have
appreciate that.
I don't know what answer I was looking for. I just wanted to ask it because it popped in my brain, and thank you.
Well, I hope that's what I hope everyone else thinks that's a cool thought exercise.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure if people are in security, especially blue team and defensive, like that comes into your thought process all the time. I mean, we have all these systems that are always analyzing and looking for heuristics and signatures, but man, a hacker can just change the way he hacks and then subverts and hides. It's just crazy what you can do. Anyways, so I want to change gears for a second because I think about CTFs and what you do. You're involved in creating CTFs. You're involved in the CTF community. It's like gaming, and it sounds really cool that way. There are some new tools out I've heard about, like Hack the Box has their battlegrounds where it's very. Have you heard about that?
Yes, absolutely.
And it seems very, very gamerific. Like I can see people on Twitch streaming these things and going at it. What do you think about all this stuff?
Okay.
What do you think about hacking becoming more gamified?
This is perfect. Yesterday, I was co-hosting and helping present what was called the Ultimate Hacking Competition,
Sounds pretty
which
epic.
was a live stream on Twitch that was a live capture the flag competition in a game where there were 10 players and they were racing to solve like 3 challenges to break into a machine, escalate their privileges, and compromise and win. And I'm like shoutcasting, like ESPN, like esports style thing, like, oh, the Docker breakout, he's almost got the syntax.
That is excellent.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. It was a blast.
Do you watch sports? Because I don't watch sports, but I would watch that.
I do not. Yeah, I'm not into the sport ball.
But that's I can get behind that.
I would love to. I'd love to scream and showcase that a little bit more because it was put on by Dual Core, one of the DJs and music producers kind of in our scene, which is an absolute blast, and it was an honor to be a part of it. But it was so stinking cool. And Hack the Box Battlegrounds and try Hack Me King of the Hill. I don't know if we ever will get to a point where it is cybersecurity, esports, hacking as a spectator sport, but gosh darn it, we should.
Well, I mean, the way I think about it, like, yeah, someone coming in and they'd have to understand quite a bit about hacking to appreciate what's happening in those things. But I don't know. I'll get on a stream on Twitch and I'll see someone playing League of Legends, which I don't play, and I'm like, I have no idea what's happening here. Why is everyone watching this? This seems really complex and stupid. But I think that could be a thing. Like, as more people get into hacking, man, it would be really fun to watch that, especially as you're learning. Like, wow, look at these guys doing this. Oh, look at this. It's really cool. I'm really hoping it becomes like that, because video games are a waste of time unless you're like making millions of dollars doing it. Most of us, it's a waste of time. Making hacking a sport, that's always a good use of your time. You're learning, and that would be really cool. Like, to make that something that people aspire to do and skill up in, that'd be amazing. And think of the how secure things will become if more people get into it like that. I mean, Mr. Robot's already done that for us, right?
Oh, no, I 1,000% agree. That would be crazy cool. It's a learning vessel, even if you're not actively doing it, just kind of watching it. I was worried, like, before we were going to do this show and I was going to co-host with him, Dual Core and everyone, because I was like, oh, what if it's a vulnerability that I don't know about? What if it's an exploit that I'm just not smart enough for? And he said, like, no, sometimes it's pretty informal. We learn even as we're watching the players. Like, we'll see them use a new tool. We'll see a different technique to get around some web application firewall. And that was just so stinking cool.
That sounds incredibly fun. I'm hoping that really catches on. Now, let's change gears a bit. We talked a lot about CTFs and hacking and all that kind of stuff. Let's talk about the recent hack. You said you were kind of busy today with SolarWinds and everything. I woke up to this. I talked about it on my stream on Twitch this morning. I wake up and I look at SolarWinds. I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. I should make a YouTube video about that. So I thought about making a YouTube video that morning. I go to check YouTube. I can't freaking log in. That scared me to death, because I'm like, that's my livelihood. Like, this is what I do right here. I couldn't log into it. I go to try and log into my Gmail account, type in my email address that manages all my stuff. It says account doesn't exist. I don't exist now. Like, I'm done. I'm gone. So that terrified me. So tell me what you know. I haven't researched it a lot today. I've been super busy. So tell me what you know about the SolarWinds hack.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't know how much light I could share on Google, the Google outage today, because I was kind of spread thin, going crazy with everyone else on fire about the SolarWinds thing.
That's good enough, I think.
And I was frantically running around back and forth like a chicken with my head cut off just before we got on live on this live stream, because we just put out a blog post, and I've got it pulled up here for my day job, as to what we're looking at with the SolarWinds exploit on the Orion software. I can't, nor do I want to, come out as if I am some voice of authority, because there are some facts, right? And there are also some uncertainties. Yes, it is a fact. That's an absolute that we found the FireEye, credit to them, the SolarWinds Orion software got beat up in a supply chain attack, where it looked like one of the updates for the software, the Orion software, was legitimate. It looked like it was a trustworthy official thing from SolarWinds, but it was not. It was backdoor DLL and some malicious activity that threat actors had actively been taking advantage of for some time now.
That is
but
terrifying.
It would blend in. It looked like the real thing. It looked legit. And the network activity that it was using to take advantage of the command and control, to do post-exploitation, to continue operations, it looked like regular SolarWinds network activity. It was using like the Orion information protocol or something.
Well, and that terrifies me because I was a long-time customer of SolarWinds. Like, I learned it inside and out. I deployed it to monitor my network and my systems and everything. And I don't know how I would detect that. Like you couldn't really. I mean, it's terrifying. By the way, another YouTuber here, I Am Lucid, popped in. He says, "You look like Edward Snowden." And how do you feel about that?
my government and military background, I can't.
Well, you just look like him. You don't have to go hide in Russia, dude. Just chill out.
Yeah.
Anyways, so SolarWinds hack. Let's get back on track here. I know we lose focus. So Winds got hacked. How did the hackers, so supply chain hack, explain that to us real quick. What does that mean?
So, again, I might be either not getting every fact 1,000% right. So I might be vague and fuzzy here. So forgive me. And there are a lot of resources and articles and threat analysis articles already out, and the emergency directive from CISA that gets a lot more in the weeds that I could probably offer off the cuff here in a live stream. How did this happen, or what more is a supply chain attack? We can understand that enough of SolarWinds was compromised that they were able to take advantage of that update system that Orion software would be using. And that update that gets pulled down, and for some time it was still like publicly accessible on the internet. Some of the tweets, and Twitter is a crazy bubble for InfoSec and cybersecurity folks. They were doing their threat intel like live on Twitter, sharing screenshots of reverse engineering the DLL and the hashes and the virus total results.
Dude.
Yeah. So it looked like something that would have came from the official, good, trusted source, but it was bad.
And so
that was the supply chain.
As a blue teamer, and I assume you have blue team experience, what would you do to detect that? Because you kind of trust your vendors when they have that reputation. You don't have scanning on for just updates. You're supposed to update your stuff. That protects you. What do you do when your updates are nefarious? Like that's terrifying.
Yeah. And this was a tough thing because we saw this happen. We were watching it unfold last night while it was occurring, like seeing the tweets come through live, seeing the emergency directive drop, and trying to understand and look at it. The known hash, right, the SHA-256 hash of this DLL. And you could see it in VirusTotal, and maybe some in the chat could even kind of share the link there. There was a time at midnight or 1 in the morning where VirusTotal had scanned it and 0 engines detected.
Gosh,
the evil and the badness.
So no signatures, no heuristics, no one. It was literally a 0 day that no one could find.
I can't say a 0 day because it's not like some exploit that they're tossing over.
Right.
But yes, in the sense that no one else had seen it before. You can't be able to wave your stamp and certificate around and say like, "Hey, we scanned it. It's good." It takes a lot more diving deep in the weeds that maybe a super smart analyst would have been able to pick up or look through. And we've been seeing throughout the night and throughout the morning, suddenly, okay, after all the news broke, now 1 engine detects it on VirusTotal, and then 3. And I think now we're up to like 27 or 35. But tomorrow, and we've already seen the Washington Post and we've already seen the New York Times article, this is going to flip. This is big.
Well, I'm reading the Krebs on Security article right now, and it's listing the partial customer listing. Some of the customers we're talking about here are AT&T, my beloved Cisco, Federal Express, which is not good for the holidays, Texaco, Sprint. I mean, just everyone uses SolarWinds. It's an industry standard for doing everything. Now, I haven't looked into it too much. Now, level 3 communications, holy crap. If you had that vulnerability, if you had that update, what kind of access are we talking about? What could these hackers do?
So, from what I understand, SolarWinds has a separate product and pool. I think it's N-Central or their RMM or their remote management thing that is going to end up being the agent on an endpoint that will be communicating back and forth. And I am not 1,000% positive, as far as we know, the compromise that we see in the Orion software is not in N-Central or SolarWinds. But I can't say with certainty, right? Nothing is an absolute here. So, oh, I may have completely just lost track of your original question.
It's fine. You're not drinking coffee, are you? Because like I think that's
I
the
got
problem here.
I got some water beside me, but that's about it.
No, no. See, well, I like the red team sticker there. You
Yeah.
need coffee. That's the stream thing. If you don't do it, then you can't keep up with me, man. I'm on rocket fuel here. I'm going a million miles an
So
hour.
you're gonna hate me. I am and not a coffee drinker, but I do dabble a little bit in some like Monster Energy drink. That's my
come
poison.
on.
I know. I'm the worst.
No, you said poison. It's literally poison. You're killing yourself. Coffee is natural. It's what we're gonna drink in heaven. It's perfect. And it's what I'm surprised and I'm shocked and I'm appalled.
I'll have to get some of your NetworkChuck coffee.
I will
right?
I will ship you some, and
My girlfriend is an avid coffee drinker, so we would certainly have some of it without a doubt.
I'll get you hooked up. We gotta take care of this problem. That's a vulnerability you have. We're gonna patch that vulnerability. So the question was, SolarWinds. What was the what access did the hackers have? So you covered that it wasn't the which I think was their MSP piece, their N-Central, the remote monitoring, which that would be huge bad. Like that's
Right.
a lot of MSPs use that to monitor their customers. That would open up so many small businesses to medium-sized businesses. But I know their Orion platform was part of the vulnerable things. So what could a hacker do if they had access to that?
So that does still grant them, command and control and access and compromise on that target. So we try to think and we wonder what is the intent. Like, is this going to be some data exfiltration? Is this going to be some cyber espionage thing? Are they going to try and pull files, gather information? Are they going to drop ransomware, just hose the whole thing, take it down, denial of service? Again, we don't know. And it's even reading through the FireEye article and then the threat analysis. This was conducted and done with serious operational security. So there's nothing for sure.
Wow.
What could they have done? Certainly a lot. With post-exploitation, they could do as they please.
So I guess the better question is, we don't really know what they've done so far. Is that the scariest question I could ask?
I like to think so. I admit, yeah, because how long has this potentially been in there? How slow? What was the heartbeat? How did they go undetected for so long?
Right.
How
right.
long?
Yeah, and that's scary. So do we? So we definitely were able to find out there's an issue. Have we found out if there's anything they've done with it yet? Are there any effects from this yet?
Like offensive adversarial bad effects?
Yeah, have they like stolen data? Have they dropped malware? Have they done anything like that yet, or is it still kind of dormant?
I don't think or know we are that far out in the story just yet.
That's crazy, man. That is insane.
We are seeing obviously everyone is on fire, the world is ending, the sky is falling response, and that we have new indicators of compromise. We see IP addresses that are being used for the infected command and control servers. There are snort rules, there are YARO rules, there are a lot of great defensive procedures, and even including that emergency directive. At some point, we still boil down to the bare bone fundamental cybersecurity hygiene, right? The security best practices that are stupid and we're bored of and tired of hearing. But yeah, use two-factor authentication, man. Update your stuff. Patch things as the vendors release them. You know.
Well, it's still amazing how many people don't do this. I mean, even just IT professionals don't have that proper change your password every once in a while. Have that two-factor authentication. Like, do this. It's certainly more difficult. It's hard. You have to. It's annoying. You have to do it. I mean, I was just talking to some people from church the other day, and I'm like explaining to them like they'd never heard it before. Two-factor authentication. Like they just didn't get it. I'm like, you don't. You're telling me you use the same password everywhere, and you have no two-factor.
Oh,
Like you're hacked. Like you're as far as I'm concerned, you're done. Like you're toast. You might as well just like it's insane. Real quick chat. Someone posted in the chat, if anyone here doesn't have two-factor authentication, let me know so we can shame you, or at least get you to do it.
We'll do a quick security check. Paste your password, and we'll decide if it's complex enough.
Yeah,
Teasing.
real quick, paste your username and password and what service it's for, and we'll let you know if it's secure. Also, your public IP address. No, please don't. Please don't. That's a form of social engineering. Don't listen to me. That's stupid. Don't do that. Yeah. People would do it. That's what I'm afraid of. People would do it.
Oh yeah.
So anyways, where were we? So SolarWinds. I guess the scariest thing is we really don't know where we're at with that. We know that it was vulnerable, it was hacked, and it affected the world, but we don't know to what extent. And it might be happenstance that Google went down right around that time, but I don't believe in a lot of coincidences. So it scares me a little bit. I mean, I would imagine Google uses something to monitor the networks. They probably have their own stuff, but I would imagine pockets of Google, maybe even pockets of YouTube, probably use SolarWinds. I don't know.
I don't mean to spread either intentionally or unintentionally of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I don't mean to be like some alarmist, paranoid, scaring people, and that's not what any of this is. Everything that I think we do and I want to do is to just make sure people are in the know and make sure that people are aware and at least have an idea that this is out there. And you can do your own homework if you're fascinated, if you're interested, if you want to learn a little bit or know more about it. But I'm not trying to be all spooky, scary, doomsday, you know?
Well, yeah, and you don't want to do that, right? Because that's never good for anyone. But in reality, dude, I mean, these are like, we don't really know who's behind it yet, but we think it's like Russian threat actors, like a coordinated, like these are professionals who probably drive into the office every like they're having their regular Mondays, and this is what their job is. Their daily job is just attacking us, and that's crazy. Like this is why we have people like you, and hopefully me one day as I learn how to do basic crap. It is crazy.
They're throwing out, I think, like Cozy Bear or APT29 or UNC. There's a tag UNC for uncategorized because we just don't know.
That's terrifying. Now, we covered a lot so far. Is there anything that you feel like you want to say about hacking in general? Like, because we have probably in our audience a lot of people who are young, new to IT, and they think hacking looks really flashy and cool. What would you say to them right now to kind of, I guess, do one of two things? Either encourage them to like buckle down and go deep, or like to help them figure out if hacking is for them. Because I know hacking can't be for everyone. Like it's a discipline and it's a certain art to where you have to kind of be detail oriented. You have to like digging through things and kind of tweaking stuff. I don't think it may be for everyone. So what's a good way you can kind of weed yourself out and then dig deep once you figure out it's for you?
Yeah. I've beaten the dead horse about your passion and your drive and your interest because you want it to be fun. You want
can't
it to
say
be
it enough.
that
You can't say it enough. I mean,
yeah,
people
but it's an oversaturated answer, but it is the answer. But I will go one step further, so it's not the classic cookie cutter thing. There's a saying with offensive security and OSCP and all these certs, right? There's a mantra to try harder, and that I think has its place, right? Because it's telling you to bang your head against the wall. It's telling you to suffer. It's telling you to keep at it, and it sometimes it sucks. Sometimes you want to ask someone for help, and they're just like, no, GTFO, RTFM, try harder. That might not be the answer that you want all the time, and that kind of hurts sometimes. I would turn that on its head and say it's not try harder, it's keep trying or try again. Because persistence. Yeah. It's going to, I hate saying it's going to be tough because it sounds so like cliche, but no one ever talks about how much fail there is in hacking. No one ever talks about how much failure you have to work through or go through to improve yourself and to get better. We hear, like you mentioned, the flashy, high-flying, crazy cool stuff, being the elite cyber ninja warrior, but no one ever talks about how much fail there is.
That's encouraging to hear, because I imagine as people start going down that path, that's probably the first thing they meet is failure. And I know it's for me too. Like, man, I'll watch some of these like CTFs or even like hack the box walkthroughs, and I'm like, how did that guy know how to do that? I don't know anything. Like, I've been in IT for a minute. I know networking. I know how to build stuff. I don't know what that guy just did. Like, that's I need to go back and study. It's hard. It's daunting, and you just have to take it one step at a time and be persistent. You're exactly right. So now, I had a question and I forgot. So you know what? I'm just going to switch over to some user questions here. If you got a moment for them here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me refresh my page and I'll throw a few up here. Just give me a moment as I find it, and here it is. Well, first we just got a super chat saying thank you from Lucas. Let me pull it up here.
Oh, thank you, Lucas. Happy to be hanging out with everyone. This has been a pleasure. This has been a real treat.
He said, you inspired me, and I love my Raspberry Pi now. So I think he's talking to me and probably you too, because we're both inspirational figures here. Let's see. I got a super chat from Brody Wilhelms. I'll throw him up real quick. He says, love the content. I think he said, thanks for doing it. Let me see. Yeah, keep it up. We already answered a question about certification. Let me see here. Give me advice. This is from Mahmoud. Give me advice. I am new, first Python or learn hacking. So, okay, a good question here. Where should you start? Should you learn Python or just start hacking?
I feel like I've said both of these, and I know they conflict. I'd be like, dive in, but you should learn Python too. You have to do what you think is more interesting and fun. So if you're learning Python and you're watching video tutorials, or you're following through in a book, or if you're trying to sit through some lecture, if your eyes glaze over and you're falling asleep and you're trying to check your pulse, okay, time to move on. Time to go do something else. Time to go do something fun that really fires you up. So
amen.
Go break open Hack the Box. Go tinker with Try Hack Me. Go do any of the plethora of war games. And if you start to get to a point where you're racking your head against the wall, okay, let me bebop back to maybe some more of my study and maybe some more of my learning. Oh, man.
That's good, though. Because I've been doing some studying for a Cisco certification live on Twitch every morning, and people see this. I'll go in with the intention of reading like this chapter of a book or something, and like 2 paragraphs in, I'm like, I hate this. I'm done. I'm bored. I'm going to switch over to a lab so I can keep it fresh, because you're only going to be as productive as you can be if your mind is just melting, like if you're just not there. So you got to keep yourself excited, looking at the shiny new toy, and now you learn so much of that process. So I guess to answer the question, so Python or hacking first, and you're saying just bounce back and forth because you need a good mix of theory and practical. You can't have one or the other. You gotta have both, but you want to make sure you're balancing your interest.
I know it's such a crappy answer, but it's the answer.
No, I mean, it's a great answer. I mean, because when I tell people, like, they ask me, what do I need to get my certification or learn a skill? I say you need 3 things, and you need these 3 different modalities as you learn. Get a good book, get a good lab, and get a good video series, because it uses, like, if you're bored to tears of the book, well, then watch someone really cool explain it to you on YouTube, like John Hammond, or go lab it up in one of John Hammond's CTFs. Speaking of which, before we go any further, where can people find you? I mean, obviously you're on YouTube, John Hammond.
Yeah.
So just scroll past the
YouTube
Jurassic Park stuff, and then you'll see him.
No, YouTube is kind of my main stage event. I love to push some of my content there. I am on Twitter. I am on LinkedIn if you want to hang there as well. I don't dabble as much in like Instagram or something. I probably should. I don't know how to get a hacking community on Instagram.
You could be the first. We will start it together. Instagram is interesting. I try to do all platforms because I never know what's going to be the best, but it's always good to be everywhere. Cool. So I'll put all your links below here in a bit.
Thank you.
Next question. We got a super chat from George Mateo, and I think it's just more love for us. I respect both of you guys. You guys are both awesome. But at the end of the day, John is my idol, but Chuck, you are still the man. So
I'm very flattered. Thank you.
that's pretty funny.
I don't know, Chuck. I think you got me beat, man. Your production quality, your quality of videos, you're light years ahead of me, my friend.
I appreciate it, but I would much rather trade places with you and have your knowledge and all those alphabet soup certifications behind my name, because that's some killer stuff, man. Anyways, enough bromancing here. Let me find the super chat. We got a super chat from Joseph Fruski. Where'd it go? I can't find it. Oh, there it is, Joseph. I found it. Thanks for the super chat, Joseph. He says the Python cert, is that the Microsoft Technology Associate and Python cert you were talking about? So this is earlier, and this is the chat I was talking about. So he's we've already answered the question. It was that PCAP, not the packet capture, but the Python thing. I guess Microsoft has a Python certification? I feel like I need to look it up right now.
Admittedly, I guess I hadn't even heard it. Yeah, I'm pulling it up as well.
MTA Python. Oh, cool. It's one of their Microsoft Technology Associate certifications. It's Introduction to Python Programming, or Introduction to Programming using Python. I might have to look at that. That's pretty cool.
That looks like reasonably priced too. 127, I think. If we're looking at the same page, that's okay.
Yeah, and Microsoft, I mean, they have great certifications. To this day, and this is not having taken a legit hacking certification. I'm sure OSCP is really fun, but my favorite certification exam has been the Microsoft Azure certification. It was super hands-on. Like, they give you their cloud portal, you log in, and they say configure this, you configure it, and then they grade you. It's so fun, so fun. Anyways, back to looking at our super chats here. Dan Xbox gave us one, but he just said testing.ctf.games. I don't know what that goes to.
Thank you.
Is that yours?
So I had mentioned earlier that myself and my team and our little ragtag group of hackers were putting together some new infrastructure for hosting our own Capture the Flag training environments and exercises. We hope to be doing one at the very end of the year with GrimCon, and Grim is another cybersecurity business and company that's putting together an annual security conference, or they've been doing this for a little bit. And they asked us, hey, can you host a CTF? And we're like, yeah, absolutely. We'd love to. We're flattered. But we've made so many changes now that we would really like some folks to just kind of beta test how this new platform is going to look for us at a larger scale.
Okay.
So on a whim, we're like, let's put on a test game like this Wednesday. And it's at testing.ctf.games.
CTF for hire. I'm looking at it now. It loaded quick.
Right. Fingers crossed.
Is that Kubernetes I'm looking at, or no, not yet?
It is.
Ooh, exciting.
Kubernetes is deploying the front end in its own container, and as you are able to deploy your own challenges, like on demand, as if you were starting a lab, like as if you were just spinning up a VM for you to like poke around at, Kubernetes will just drop you your own dedicated instance.
That sounds delicious. That's amazing.
Should be fun.
Oh man, that's cool. That sounds like another subject for another live stream, but we can't. We'll be in rabbit holes like crazy.
Love it.
Super chat from Jared. Thank you for the super chat, Jared. He says, what would you recommend for an affordable open source laptop on the more entry level? So I'm guessing someone's looking for a laptop to start using for hacking. What would you say, Mr. Hammond?
An open source laptop. I guess I admittedly haven't, or I don't often hear those words together.
Yeah, I'm assuming they mean maybe a laptop to install Linux on, right?
Yeah.
Which can be any laptop.
So if you're talking about a computer, and you can obviously install Linux on whatever you'd like, I use a Dell XPS 15, and that is what I am actively using right now. I don't know. I don't have a desktop yet, and I probably should at some point, maybe for Christmas. Who knows? I'm working on a laptop right now.
Build you a desktop, dude. It's the best thing ever, and you can call it. You can even make a YouTube video about it. Expense it as a business thing. Make it your hacking desktop. It's awesome. Yeah, for a laptop. Now, better question though. Do you need some beefy hardware to do hacking?
No, not at all. So a lot of times you're going to be finding yourself working like in the command line, right? You're running command line tools, you're running Python. That's you don't need a crazy graphics card to try and render the new Call of Duty game if you're working out of the command line. I've seen all your stuff, NetworkChuck, with your Raspberry Pi, and hey, I'm using that tiny little credit card circuit board to do some hacking. Like that's what, $25, $35?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can get out the door with all, I mean, of course, they charge you for the power supply and all that. But yeah, like I think at the most 40, $50, and you've got an entire computer for hacking.
And it fits in your pocket. That's awesome.
It's mind blowing what it is. I mean, I literally have one behind me on the wall that has a screen attached to it. So you get it's all in one, man. I used it for my Starbucks hacking video, which don't search for that because they told me to take their name off of it.
Ooh.
Yeah, they reached out. They said, "Hey, cease and desist. Can you change all that information for us? Like take our logos out of the video and take our name out of the title." I'm like, sure. I'm scared of you, Starbucks. Don't come at me. So I did what they said, and then they gave me a gift card. How nice. So
hey, you know, if that's a get out of jail free card, if I've ever heard it, like I'll take it.
because like here I am trying to make it on YouTube. I'm like, what's a good clickbaity title? Hacking Starbucks. Yeah, I'll get that. Don't do that. They don't like that.
I would love to, as we kind of talked about some other conversations we'd love to have together. I'd love to pick your brain from the content creator perspective, like how YouTube is for you, you know, living in this kind of weird ecosystem that we've got here, the burnout, the imposter syndrome that I struggle with. I don't know about you.
Oh, all the time.
Content creating is its own animal. It's its own beast. So that would be maybe an interesting topic too.
It very much would be because people are curious about it. Like, I see people posting all the time, like their YouTube stats and talking about burnout and all this. It's a real thing. Like,
oh yeah.
Some days I'm like, I can't. I'm done. Sometimes I'll just take a week off and not talk to anyone because it's a lot being so public all the time and then making a fool of yourself, which happens often for me. I envy people like you, John, because you actually still do what you talk about on YouTube as a profession. I don't. I'm not in the field, and everything I talk about pretty much is something I learned yesterday. So I'm always like imposter syndrome 24/7. But I'm sure in hacking, you're always learning stuff new, and you're always just talking about something fresh. So I'm sure it applies to you as well. Not as much though. Now here's a question. I don't know anything about this, but it says it's from Toronto Root. They say, what do you think about Hacking University? Have you heard about that? I've never heard of that.
That sounds very, very vague and abstract. Hacking University. There are a lot of things that might fit the criteria of Hacking University. Is that a book? Is that Hacker USA? Is that a coding boot camp?
Let's see if we got some. Let me see if they commented again. If we got any more context around that. Let's see. They also said that we are the best hackers, in his opinion.
I'm flattered. Thank you.
Me too.
But
so
I still got a lot to learn.
Me too.
I gotta keep telling people and reminding people, like, look, dude, I've been doing this for 5 years, and I'm gonna still be learning for the next 50. Like, I still consider myself a beginner. There's a lot that I want to get smart on too.
Don't tell me that. If you're a beginner, then I'm still over here in diapers, man. I can't do anything. So, Hacking University, I'm assuming they're talking about hacking in general for getting like a degree.
Oh.
Maybe I'm searching Hacking University. Some things I get up here are like there's a university called Abertay University, and they have an ethical hacking degree. What's your opinion on degrees? College.
So, this is quite a story. I mentioned I kind of got my feet wet in the U.S. Coast Guard. So I went to the U.S. Coast Guard Academy. And that's one of those kind of big, lofty military service academies, right? Between like West Point or Annapolis and all that. And typically in that, you graduate and you commission, and you're going to go be an officer and go do military things in that military service. I am not in the Coast Guard. So I didn't graduate. But I got my 4 years of experience in education and learning. I have a transcript with 4 years worth of college and education, but I don't have a bachelor's.
Interesting. So you went through the pain of all that. Don't have the paper, but you have the knowledge. I'm curious how that treated you.
Well, so it's interesting, and it's a blessing in disguise, as I have immediately found out. But I studied electrical engineering at the Coast Guard Academy. That was my undergraduate. It was not in computer science. It was not in cybersecurity, primarily because the Coast Guard didn't have any of those things. But I go to say that in that formal education in cybersecurity and ethical hacking isn't always there, for one thing, at all. And if it is there, it might not be the best. It might not teach you everything that you want or need to know that you would be doing if you were to explore and tinker and play on your own with those capture the flag games, with those activities, war games, hack the box, try hack me. You fill in your own gaps. So I've heard you have those conversations with NomSec and Stoke, is like formal education, college, school. I don't care. I don't want that.
We're all in good company. So definitely from the information and learning perspective, that makes sense, and I totally agree with that. What I don't know about, and maybe you have more insight on this, is do employers care about that? If someone's looking to hire someone as a pen tester or a red teamer, do they care if you have a degree or not?
So it totally depends, and it's super subjective, and that's a crappy answer. I know, as usual. But when I was in the military, federal government contracting end of the world, they do care about those certifications and those experience and those education and degrees and et cetera. If just to get through HR, as we've discussed.
Right.
I think what you'll find, if you find a good spot, a really, really awesome gig, an incredible, warm, welcoming company that you want to, hey, sign your hat or hang your hat up on with, they don't care. Like, if you prove your merit, if you can show them that you're a rock star on the keyboard, that you love your stuff and you're passionate about it, they're like, heck yeah, dude, we got open arms. I don't care if you have a degree or squat.
And that bleeds perfectly into our next super chat question from Ashraf Jalal. And I know I butchered that name. I'm sorry, but thank you for the super chat. He says, what advice do you have for trying to land your first role in cybersecurity?
So I'll do more stories if that's okay.
Oh, yeah. No, stories add so much depth to what we're doing right now. So bring it on, man.
My first job in cybersecurity was as a teacher and as an instructor, which makes no sense, right?
No. What you can't do, teach, right?
Yeah. Like, oh, that was good. No, so I was originally with the Cyber Training Academy, the DoD CTA, to teach cyber threat emulation and penetration testing to get some of our operators on keyboard doing the real stuff, being a hacker, PowerShell, penetration testing, Python, metasploit. And how the crap did I land that as my first job? That sounds, I thought it was like, hey, this is incredible. This thing just landed in my lap. But the thing is, my actual answer to your question, now that I've got that background out of the way.
Perfect.
Have a portfolio. And yeah, your resume is one thing. Sure, you got a piece of paper that tells you a little bit about yourself, but you want to be able to bring them your GitHub that you have X thousand projects or a dozen or so things that you've hacked on or open source contributions. You want to have your website where you can showcase these are the cool applications that I've built. Hey, I've got a couple CVEs to my name. I found some bugs and I've got exploits that are really written and fleshed out, and I've done stuff with this. Sometimes that's hard to do. I will admit.
Yeah, especially if for someone looking for their first job, that sounds pretty daunting, at least from my perspective. What about like, would it be weird or would it look bad to put maybe try hack me or hack the box walkthroughs on your, I guess on your website, or make videos and like maybe have that on your resume? Would that be silly or stupid?
No, I'm super glad you asked, because that is exactly what I would advocate for. I totally tell people, like, Duke, don't be afraid to put your try hack me standing, your hack the box rank, like in your resume. Like that's sharing cool, those write-ups, sharing your video solutions. Maybe you've got your own growing, budding YouTube channel where you're just trying to spread the wealth. You're trying to share the knowledge. That I think people really like. You're active in the community. You go to security conferences. You try to talk and speak and give presentations. You network. You volunteer. Anyone can do that.
That's awesome.
And I think that's great. I hope that kind of answers your question. That's how I landed my first role in cybersecurity. Is that, hey, I've got a silly YouTube channel where I talk about this stuff way too often.
And I tell everyone that in like every area of IT. I don't care if it's networking or cloud or whatever. That's the secret sauce. If you can just start documenting your process, get a blog, and whatever your medium is, just do it. And that speaks so much. Just even on LinkedIn alone, LinkedIn has so many cool features now where you can add videos and you can create your own little articles. Man, such a killer way to do it. Super chat from, and this is someone who actually hangs out with me in the mornings when I do my Twitch streams, fairly odd streams. He says, we kind of already covered this, but let's get a succinct answer right now. What cert do I get first?
Ooh, succinct answer. You might tell me Pentest Plus.
I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure.
I hate that every single answer has like a caveat.
You should do this, but on the opposite hand, you shouldn't do that at all.
the little lawyer answer, like, well, it depends. Like, I would love to tell people EJPT. I'd love to tell people the Junior Penetration Testing cert from eLearn Security. I realize that has a price tag on it, and that might be too much of a price tag for some folks. But that gets you hands-on, that gets you on the keyboard, that gets you practical, doing it for real. Security Plus, that gets you the more conversational, theoretical know-how to be able to have the conversation, know the lingo and everything. It depends what you're interested in, what you want. What would you like to be more of an operator on the keyboard, or would you just like to be able to speak the language? So I see a good chat come by. In IT, the answer is always, it depends. So.
Absolutely. And I think yeah, it does depend. What I always tell people, like especially for certifications, like I think if you're trying to land a job, what I would say is look in your area, do a quick search for those certifications, see if any particular job is looking for those certifications in your area. What does it come up with? If there are a lot for EJPT, go for that. If there are a lot for Security Plus, they're looking for entry-level people, go for that. You want to get past those HR checkboxes. Anyways, we have two additional questions that are kind of piggybacking on what we just talked about. One from John Kaiser. Let me just throw his name up in lights because he did give me a super chat. He said, do you recommend going to school for cybersecurity or being self-taught and getting the certifications? Which you kind of already answered, right? And John, what would you say?
It's weird. I would actually say go to school for cybersecurity.
Oh, man, I'm confused now.
I know. It's super confusing, right? I would say go to school for cybersecurity if you can. If it's completely easy, if money is no object, if time is not a concern, whatever the case may be, if it's convenient, maybe that's the better way to put it. If going to school is convenient and painless, do it so that you've got that notch on your belt. So you've got that stupid line in your resume, and that's done. It's out of the way. If you can't, being self-taught is what I would advocate for all the way. And supplement what you might be learning in school with being self-taught. Getting the certifications, again, you don't have to, but if it's convenient, you should. Why not? So.
I like that. That's good. Because I always say college is stupid. But you're right. In many cases, having a degree is really necessary. So if you have the opportunity to do that, do it. You get that checkbox. No matter where you go, you're good. You're good. You have that. That's good advice. And then the same question over here from Scorpion86. Is a college degree worth getting to break into cybersecurity? And you said yes, so that's good.
If it's easy, if it's convenient, it doesn't have to be that route.
Yeah, because I mean, goodness, if you're trying to like work 3 jobs to pay for college just to get that degree, that might not be worth it for you. There's a much cheaper path, a more knowledgeable path, a more beneficial path outside of college.
I was looking at your stream with Nomsec, and you guys were just like Complete waste of money. Complete waste of money.
Just dogging on it like, go burn your diplomas right now.
You could spend that money on great learning resources and war games and practice.
You can buy that massive open source laptop. Yeah. You can do whatever you want. Another question from Fairly Odd Streams. Thank you. He says, where should I go after? I guess he's using INE. So where should I go after the INE course? Because, eLearn was bought by INE, right. Which, by the way, guys, I'm doing on my giveaway starting tomorrow, and eLearn is one of the things I'm giving away. So keep that in mind. So I guess really the question is, where do you go after EJPT and all the eLearn certifications? How do you? That's a great question, actually. How do you mix and match vendors? Would you stick with one, or kind of get your OSCP over here and go for an eLearn security certification over here?
I struggle with that because at the end of the day, a lot of them are very, very similar. Mm-hmm. And it's like, sure, I have my OSCP, but it's practically equivalent to my ECPPT, which is practically equivalent to my GPEN, which is practically equivalent, etc. And we joke sometimes about a cert warrior, right, where you have like 24 to your name. I hope I'm not that far down the rabbit hole yet, but I hope I'm not that far. Where do you go after INE, or do you bebop around? Honestly, I think they present the learning material in a different way. The labs that they offer, the exercises and the training, is it going to be presented in a slideshow, like a PowerPoint you just drone through? Is it going to be an interactive video sort of thing? If you are at the point in your mind where you're saying, all of these look the same, how do I choose? Okay, go for what's convenient, right? Again, the cheap option that might be realistic for you, and what suits your learning style best. And yeah.
Yeah, I think that's, you hit the nail on the head, because not every certification path is going to have a ton of resources that you can pick from. Like eLearn, I don't know what resources are out there except for what maybe INE or eLearn created for it, so you're very limited. Whereas OSCP, I mean, you got their official courseware from PWK, but you also have TryHackMe and Hack the Box and Heath Adams and all these people who make content that can help you along the way. So you got options. So that's an interesting perspective on that. We got a super chat from Joseph Fruski. I'm going to struggle with that name forever. I did cybersecurity in the Army, now teaching it in a top engineering high school in NYC. I would love to tell you how cyber is being taught to teenagers. Real cool. So I guess more of a comment. I would love to hear that, how cybersecurity is being taught to high schoolers right now, which I would have killed for in high school. I didn't know a thing about what was going on when I was in high school. Did you have like a high school program for IT, John?
Oh, we had one course when I was in high school called Video Game Development, and they taught Game Maker, the Yo-Yo Games little tool and program, which was cool and fun and neat. But not anything like what I do right now. And that's what I was saying. Even at school, at college, when we talked about it, that's nothing that I use in my current day-to-day life. I would absolutely love to know, though, how it is being taught for high schools in New York. That sounds incredible. I hope they're doing it right, and I hope that you would be happy with what's going on. Yeah.
And the beauty of it is we have YouTube now. We have so many resources where people like yourself and Heath Adams and Nahamsek and Stoke and all these people are doing amazing content everywhere. And it's not hard you don't have to go very far to learn something amazing and start labbing things. So that's, I think, goodness, if I could be a teenager now, I'd probably still be playing video games, but I would like to think that I'd maybe stop for a second and do some of this cool stuff as well.
I do want to, if that's all right, to like foot stomp or emphasize or spotlight that a little bit more. If you find yourself at the age, the ripe ages of your teenage years or whatever, if you don't have any other responsibilities and life commitments and obligations that take away your time, all you have is time, and you can use that to do so much. I miss the days, I miss the nights when I was locked up in my room just playing war games and learning, and it was raw, and I could afford to stay up late, you know?
See, and I never, like, what I did, and I probably share this experience with most people, is I didn't do any of that. I just played Call of Duty until I fell asleep on my couch at 6 a.m., and then I slept all day, went to work, and then repeat. I didn't do anything with my life at that point. So,
So, other philosophical question, I suppose. Do you still game a little bit now? I know we were like throwing it. I know we were throwing shade, but like when we talk about, hey, my burnout, our struggles of doing all this stuff that we do, I'll admit it. Sometimes I'll like, okay, an hour if I can at night. Sometimes I'll play Super Smash Brothers or something just to chill out, just to detox. Like,
and that's essential. And I absolutely game. I love gaming. I play Call of Duty. I like Assassin's Creed. I might pick up Cyberpunk 2077. But I think the key difference is you have to find the balance. And I use gaming as a reward system for myself. I can't game unless I've done something. I can't game unless I've studied or just done some work. Or if I'm just like so stressed out from what I've been doing all the time, I just have to take a day and just game and veg out. Use it like that. Just don't let it just totally take over your life, which I'm sure we both know some people who do that. But yeah, gaming, I love it, dude. You just got to be careful. It's a double-edged sword.
Well, I think that's a good way to put it, though. Like, yeah, use it as a reward for your own hard work.
Yeah, because it's easy to let gaming just take over. I mean, they make these games to be addictive, which is why I love gamifying hacking. Is cool because if they make it just a little bit addictive, give you that reward system, then before you know it, they're tricking you into learning, which is fantastic. You don't have to get over that initial hurdle of motivation. Motivation's not even a factor. You're just having fun. That's what I love about it. Super chat from Austin says, learn Go or Python and why?
So Python is a scripting language, right? Which means it is interpreted and requires an external program to be able to run it, to be able to execute that code. Go is a compiled language that can be bundled up into an executable that can run on Windows or on Linux or on whatever other platform you'd like. And Go is super duper fast, right? It's crazy good at concurrency, and it can do a lot of things in parallel or spread out or in mass execution, which is cool. I said that weird, and I don't like how that came out.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I was tagging along for it. It's good.
All right. And Python, it's a little bit easier to read. It's a little bit easier to write. You might not have the speed or the power that you do in Go, but you can rapidly prototype and just crank out code, not like how you might in Go. So if you're looking to solve a problem on endpoint or an operating system that requires a native executable or a program that can run standalone as is, you want Go. If you can get Python onto that system, like it's not installed default on Windows. It is installed by default on Linux, usually, most of the time, almost always.
Right.
Okay. Just those caveats and things in mind when you're choosing whichever one you might like. Pros and cons to each. I do love that Go is inherently cross-platform and it's super duper fast, but it's another learning curve.
Yeah, it sounds like for the purposes of hacking, it sounds like Python is definitely the way to go. The way to go. Don't do that. But yeah, I think Python's better. Unless you want to be, like what you said, if you're trying to solve a problem, it sounds more like programming to me, more holistic programming than actually just scripting. Mm-hmm. Super chat, we're just going to keep going because people are like, oh, they're going to answer questions, so let's throw some super chats in here. We've got Saber from Belgium. He says, hi from Belgium. Working as a SOC engineer, what resources would you recommend to get a better understanding of the offensive part and get better at SOC? So I guess he's more of obviously SOC is more defensive, more blue team. So what can he do to get better at offensive? Which I think we've already answered this question in a variety of ways, but I guess pointed answer.
Sure. There are exercises and activities called OpenSOC that showcase different technologies like using Moloch or using Kibana or using Graylog and working through with Splunk queries or whatever you might like. And that is an incredible, awesome exercise to be able to practice and to explore for the defensive blue team acting as a SOC. One other great resource that I will spread and send some love to, the Sans Holiday Hack Challenge, or KringleCon right now is running, and they do a fantastic job of pouring in some cool offensive, like adversarial stuff, but they'll also try and pour in some defensive stuff. So Splunk is in there this year, and it was this past year. That's running right now. If you want to go check it out, the Sans Holiday Hack Challenge. I've been playing, and it's been a ton of fun. So,
Goodness, yeah. There's so many things to hacking. It's a big
yes.
world. I'm having fun discovering it.
Isn't it like a little like an endless abyss at the very same time?
Yeah, it's like I feel like, oh, okay, I've got a handle on what's out there. Wait, there's something else? Oh,
Now I just fell off a cliff.
I
Yeah.
have no idea what's going on then. I'm forever a noob. Is that really just what it is? Just forever a noob? Because I'm always gonna never know what I'm doing. Super chat from DeFury. I'm just gonna try and get through these real quick. What resources would you suggest to learn Python? In the past, Chuck has mentioned Codecademy, which is what I do use to learn Python. Initially, kind of a getting started. But do you have? And I'm curious myself. What would you use right now to learn Python?
The way that I learned Python was watching tutorials on YouTube.
Well, they're in the right place.
Yeah, right? So the New Boston, I don't know if anyone actually knows that, or Bucky Roberts or Greg Roberts, he produced a lot of stuff years ago, and I had learned through his video tutorials. And then I had this silly idea like, hey, I want to do something else. I want to do that too. I want to give back to the community. I'll try and make some YouTube tutorials on stuff like this. So there is an abundance of free resources. There is an abundance of free tutorials and video guides, and if that's the way you learn, you can get all upon that. I don't think you need to pay for it. I don't think you do. Google is your friend.
Yeah, and I think that goes for anything in IT. You don't have to pay for anything. Like, all the information's out there. Everything's been talked about. It's just not curated. And it's not put into a nice, pretty path. Honestly, I love the nice, pretty path. I love that because you don't have to think about it. Sometimes you spend more time trying to find what you need than actually doing and learning what you need. So I personally love Codecademy because they just put it there for you. Here, learn this, 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 and this. Okay, I don't have to think about it. If money were an issue, you don't have to do any of that. You can find all the amazing stuff online. If you don't, gosh, you can literally do anything for free on the internet. It's amazing. So we got a few more super chats, and then I know I'm tired, and you're not even running on coffee, so you're probably tired as well. Here's one super chat from I think it's GYTIS Jitis. I don't want to pronounce that wrong. Let's throw it up here real quick. It says, "Love the stream and advice given. You guys are inspiring. Keep it up. What was the most memorable experience from hacking adventures?" Good question. So I'm sure you have some stories, Mr. John Hammond. What's the most memorable you have?
So this is going to get kind of distilled down to our play pretend game scenario, right, with Capture the Flag. I've already kind of shared some cool memories where it's like, oh, I'm learning something new that I saw at work, and I'm like, wow, this is really cool. This is really nice. I have an incredible amount of opportunities that have opened up for me because of this sort of thing. Being able to hang out with you, NetworkChuck, being able to be on plenty of other events and streams and meet incredible people, that is one absolute blast. They flew me to like London to be a part of the Google Capture the Flag finals.
Dang.
And that was cool. It wasn't even like as a participant, which was the craziest thing. It was like, hey, you're a friend. You're just a guy. You're someone in the scene that loves to talk about this stuff, and we share it online on YouTube. And that was such an incredible experience. So that's great. That is not, though, what my most memorable experience is. It was in the trenches, playing a Capture the Flag event with my friends, with the guys and girls to the left and my right when we were just hacking away at our keyboard. And there's 30 minutes left in the competition, and we're like neck and neck. Or we know hey, if we were to solve one more challenge, if we were to just break through one more technique, one more attack, we could win. And it's like, okay, whatever prize or whatever. Yeah. I remember when we would find the foothold, or we would get something right, we'd get the breadcrumb, and we would just crank out whatever we need to in the moment. And it's just adrenaline rush. It's so much energy when we're like, oh, we did it. And it feels like a sports team. It feels like you just chest bump your buddies because, oh, we won. Those are irreplaceable moments. Those are it's weird because I don't know about you when you mentioned, hey, we don't really watch sports. I'm not all into the whole throw the ball thing. I don't know.
How did it even work? Yeah. No, and
I think seeing that camaraderie and that friendship and just be like the success and the achievement is such a great, cool thing that I hope a lot of people get to play with.
that's what I'm hoping too. I mean, you see like esports take on a new life, and it's becoming so common and so big, and we're seeing real money being thrown at it. I don't see this being much different, and I think it could really attract some people into this industry and find a foothold. That's really cool. I hope to be able to participate in things like that and feel like I'm hacking, but along with the teammates. That just sounds so fun. Super chat from Daniel Sprayberry. He says he's in the DoD field and with Security Plus and working on his CYSA Plus and doing some casual hack the box. What's next for me? EJPT or OSCP or something else?
Okay, yeah, let me lay it down. If you want OSCP, like if you know you want OSCP, if that is your end goal, and if you're like, oh, what should I take to prepare for OSCP, or what other certification should I use to prep, or how do I know when I'm ready? When will I know that I'm ready to do this? When will I know? You're never gonna know. Like there's no big flashing red sign that you can now successfully take and pass and complete the OSCP, and that you have like that validation and confirmation. If you know you want the OSCP at some point, go for it. Like just sign up and spend the time in the labs, schedule the test. I like to personally schedule the test as soon as possible, because otherwise you just make sure you're going to study, make sure you're going to do it.
That's good.
And you just hold yourself to it. And if you take the test and you fail, that's okay. Like that's totally okay, because now you have already exposed yourself to it. You've already got acquainted with it. You're already familiar with it. And now you know, like, oh crap, this is the stuff that I really sucked at and I need to improve. And now I know where my weaknesses are for the exact goal and ending achievement that I want. Because you just jumped in. You just went for it. Don't hold yourself back. Don't wait until you're ready for it. If you know you want it, go for it.
That's great advice. And what I love about the OSCP, that other certifications, I don't really do this and haven't experienced this, is when you buy the voucher to do that, they give you all the training included. It's not cheap, but what you get is crazy. But they force you to schedule your lab time. Like you have to immediately do that, and then you have a limited amount of time to schedule your exam that will expire. So you have a time crunch either way the day you put down money for that, and I love that, because otherwise you just kind of sit on it forever. Putting that in there is good. People need that. I need that.
Cool.
That's crazy.
Glad.
So we're gonna do one more super chat, and then we'll kind of close this out. It's from John Rogers. I have a chance to take the SANS courses with my GI Bill. I will get the GSEC and the GCIH and one elective, which is better as an elective, GPEN or GWAPT? Did you may have all these, and I couldn't keep track of all that. Which is better?
So I have taken some SANS courses. I am blessed to have Ed Scotus as the original instructor for the SANS 560 network penetration testing and ethical hacking course, but I have not sat for any of the GIAC certification exams. So admittedly, take that with a grain of salt. I don't have any GIAC certs. I don't have GPEN, GCIH, GWAPT. The best thing that I can tell you to choose from those two, which one is a better or the best elective, GWAPT is going to be about web application pen testing, hence the name, right? So you're going to be looking at websites and applications and cross-site scripting and SQL injection and DNS, etc. The stuff that makes the web work and how you can use and abuse it. GPEN is going to be talking about penetration testing. And that's going to talk a little bit more about the life cycle. It's going to talk more about, okay, what is initial access? What does that mean? What do you do once you have it? Can you do some lateral movement? How do you do that? Do you pivot? Do you proxy tunnel? Do you port forward? Privilege escalation, cracking hashes, doing your post-compromise stuff. If that is something that you're more interested in, you can go for that. I just got to say, those are very different things. And that's why I can't exactly tell you which is better or which is best because they're just apples and oranges. You got to go for which one you like. Either way, pretty awesome that you're taking some SANS courses. I'm super jealous. Those are fantastic and they're stellar. So good on you.
Those are pretty expensive, aren't they? Like
Those are very expensive.
so that's why you're jealous. That makes sense. That makes sense. Well, guys, that's about it for now. I know we have some other super chats coming in, but we only have so much time, dude. We can only talk so much before we die.
For what, two and a half hours now? Goodness.
Yes. So seriously, John, thank you so much for coming on and spending so much time with us. I know I've learned a ton, and I hope everyone else, I know they did. I know they learned a ton from you. Again, you can find John on YouTube, Twitter. It's John Hammond. Ignore the Jurassic Park stuff. And I'll put links below for all of his stuff. Go subscribe. He's putting some awesome stuff out there. You recently did the Try Hack Me at Advent of Cyber. Like yours was yesterday, right? Where you had this whole thing going on. So go check. It's free. Go check that out. And I'll be giving away some Try Hack Me stuff this week as well. So be looking for that. Yeah, I think that's all we got. Any closing words of encouragement or anything at all, Mr. John Hammond?
Hey, thank you again and again. This has been incredible and surreal for me. I'm fanboying a little bit, right? You know, so this has been a real pleasure and a real treat. So thanks so much for having me with you. For everyone else, yeah, those words of advice and those wisdom, keep trying, try again, and change your mentality to just play and tinker, because that's the fun stuff. Keep doing the fun stuff.
Excellent. Keep trying and keep doing the fun stuff. I feel like every one of those things could be printed on a t-shirt or a coffee mug. That's awesome. Well, anyways, guys, appreciate you watching and hang out with us the whole time here. And again, go follow John, and we'll have to have him on again to talk about something else. Maybe as I get further into the hacking journey, we can have more in-depth topics and maybe do some CTFs and stuff. Well, I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, yeah, that's all I got, guys. We'll catch you guys next time.
There for you.
y'all thought I was done. Hold on, I got to echo here. Man, like any good Marvel movie, we got to do end scene credits, right? I mean, we still got 450 people here. You thought I was done, but I'm not done. Can y'all hear me, by the way? Hope you can hear me because I'm talking. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. John Hammond's a beast, isn't he? Holy crap, dude's amazing. Goodness, I love having these hacker guys on here because they make me look stupid, but they are geniuses. Like, seriously. So shout out to him. If you haven't followed him, dude, go follow him right now. All of you right now. Like, I'm not kidding. I'm gonna post it in the chat right now. Now the reason I come back on here is to give away some coffee. I'm gonna post it again. John Hammond. Go follow and subscribe to John Hammond right now. I'm gonna give away some coffee right now. Let me get it spun up real quick. Didn't have it prepped. And I'll be giving away coffee throughout the week. NetworkChuck 10 Days of Christmas is officially starting tomorrow. Crazy giveaways, dude. Like, I can't believe I got people to give away what's happening, what's being given away. So buckle your freaking seatbelts. It's going to be amazing. Anyways, coffee right now. Let me get the gift card ready. It's going to be a gift card for $20 to use on networkchuck.coffee. Getting it set up now. Blah, 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 blah. There we go. It's all set up. So I'm going to post the code in the chat right now. It's going to go quick, dude. It's going to go freaking quick. Are y'all ready? So networkchuck.coffee, networkchuck.coffee. Get your cart ready. $20. If you go in there and there's only $3 left, that means you missed it. You missed it. But you can still use that. Ready? Set. Now I'm going slow because Aaron Shannon said that it's always a bit delayed. I don't want to get people behind. I just posted it. It's there. Use it. Go fast. That's the code. Yeah, let me know who else you want to have on, and be looking for the videos coming up. It's going to be really fun. I can't wait to give away all this stuff to help you out, to get you guys motivated and excited, inspired, just to go and kill it. Yeah, and my wife told me dinner was ready about an hour ago, so I need to go. Oh, and my exams tomorrow. I'm taking my CCNA Encore 10:15 tomorrow. I'll be live on Twitch in the morning. And a shout out to Michael Reeves. Do you guys know Michael Reeves? Michael Reeves is already got the coffee. Michael Reeves is a fellow YouTuber, much bigger than me. He's got 5 million followers, and he makes crazy like engineer videos about chairs that throw you out of your chair. He was streaming on Twitch, and then he just raided me, which I didn't know was a thing. Didn't know what it was. And he dropped 17,000 followers in my stream. Super cool dude. Apparently he watches the channel, which is really cool. So shout out to Michael Reeves. Appreciate it. And I saw Lucid come on. I am Lucid. Big fan of yours, man. So thanks for coming by. Yeah. So that's all I got. Keanu Reeves. No. Michael Reeves is where it's at. Michael Reeves. Okay, I'm tired. I'm hungry. Haven't eaten all day. I've been fasting. Catch you guys later.
feel it.